Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or older in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
All right. Well, welcome to this week's episode of Stay Off My Lawn. It's December 24th. Some of the kids are calling it Christmas Eve now, but anyway, it's 2024, and this is episode 97, and it's our Christmas.
It's the Christmas extravaganza. Okay,
yeah, I can't even spell that word, so no. I'm from the South.
We're still laughing. We are not giving you a stinking tiny, even a smidgen of politics today. Nope.
Not at all.
We're just like we did at Thanksgiving time. It's a holiday. It's time for family. We're just going to give you something to listen to. If you like it and you want to share it, knock yourselves out. We're happy to let it. It's a show that I was privileged to produce, direct, and act in. Yes, I'm a triple threat.
All that meant is that you got sciatica from sitting in that chair too long.
Yes, there was hours upon hours I spent, I will assure you. Anyhow, it's A Christmas Carol. It's from the December 23rd, 1938 version of A Christmas Carol. Orson Welles was the announcer back then. Well, he's not in our show.
For various reasons, but yes.
So it's a group that I'm in. It's called VO Academy, and we do a lot of practicing and different genres of voiceover. And this is something that I really love. So cast everybody and put them in, and it just turned out so good. Not just because I was in it, but everybody worked at their parts. We only had 2 rehearsals, folks, and then we did it and recorded it. So
it sounded like you two, that group sounded like they've been doing it for years. I mean, it is every timing and everything was so good. It's fantastic. So
well, I appreciate the kind words. Everybody did work at it. It was a true group effort. We didn't go outside. I did all the editing of the voices and any flubs and fixing that kind of stuff. And then another member in the group added all the sound effects. And as he was gathering them and putting them in, he goes, "Geez, this show has a lot of sound effects." Really? Did you remember us going over the script?
I slept at the table read.
Yeah, he did a terrific job of putting him in, and it's just a wonderful show. It's everybody keeps saying the same words, that it sounds like a real professional. No kidding, because there's a lot of professionals involved.
Man, you'd think you'd know what you were doing or something once in a while. It did turn out so good, and we are so glad to share this with you. A Christmas Carol. Now, I love the old movies, the old Christmas Carol, even the Muppets Christmas Carol is great. And my favorite movie of all time is Miracle on 34th Street with the real Santa. And I can't remember what the guy's name was that played him, but it's like, if you envisioned a real Santa, that was him. So if you want to find a good movie on TV, I'm just going to throw this in here. None of this is ever scripted. So, I mean, this is off the top of my head. But Miracle on 34th Street from 1950 something, I think it was. You can get the colorized version or the black and white version. It doesn't matter, but it's a fantastic movie. So
I love that version too. I don't like the new one. I preferred to watch that one.
Yes, absolutely. So enjoy while we play you this the Voiceover Academy players. Is that?
Yes, Voiceover Academy players. And just before we start that, it's going to be like a like they do cartoons, or there's a deal. Didn't you want to play the Charlie Brown?
Yes, yes. We have.
This is what. So we want you folks to know that we know what the reason for the season is.
Absolutely.
How was that?
Yeah. So we'll have that, and then it will blend right into the show. But this is Linus explaining to Charlie Brown what Christmas is all about.
Isn't there anyone who knows what Christmas is all about? Sure, Charlie Brown. I can tell you what Christmas is all about. Lights, please. And there were in the same country shepherds, abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them. And the glory of the Lord shone round about them. And they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, Fear not. For behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling clothes, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown.
The makers of Campbell's Soups present The Campbell Playhouse, produced by the VO Academy Players. Good evening, listeners. This is Jeff Ritchie speaking. Tonight, the VO Academy Players and Campbell Playhouse observe a Campbell tradition of long standing. They bring you Charles Dickens' well-loved tale of Yuletide, A Christmas Carol. Many years ago, the makers of Campbell's Soups went shopping for a Christmas present to give to all their friends. They found it in this story, Charles Dickens' embodiment of the very spirit of Christmas. And they chose well, because it has become an important and beloved Christmas custom to listen to this story. Tonight, this annual presentation is brought to you with the sincere wish that your Christmas may be a happy one, and with the hope that the retelling of A Christmas Carol may help to make it so. And it is more than that, for with this Christmas present to you, Campbell's say thank you for your purchases of Campbell's Soup throughout the months gone by.
Marley was dead, to begin with. There's no doubt whatever about that. The register of his burial was signed by the clergyman, the clerk, the undertaker, and the chief mourner. Scrooge signed it, and Scrooge's name was good upon change for anything he chose to put his hand to. Old Marley was as dead as a doornail. Scrooge and Marley had been partners, I don't know how many years. He was a tight-fisted hand at the grindstone, Scrooge. A squeezing, wrenching, grasping, scraping, clutching, covetous old sinner. Once upon a time, of all the good days in the year, on Christmas Eve, old Scrooge sat busy in his counting house. It was a cold, bleak, biting evening, foggy withal, and he could hear the people in the court outside go wheezing up and down, beating their hands upon their breasts and stamping their feet upon the pavement to warm them. The door of Scrooge's counting house was open, that he might keep his eyes upon the clerk, Bob Cratchit, who, in a cold and dismal little cell beyond, worked at his ledgers. 29, 9, and carry 2, 13, 17, 7, and carry 1, and...
Close that door, Cratchit! Shut out that infernal noise!
Yes, Mr. Scrooge.
Confound their impudence! Cratchit!
Yes, Mr. Scrooge?
You're to stop at Farthingale's on your way home tonight and collect that 17 shillings and 6 he's owed me since Michaelmas. And tell him I shall have the constable over there if he doesn't pay at once.
Oh, well, sir, Mr. Fothergill's wife has been ill, sir. And
What do I care about his wife? I want my 17 and 6.
Oh, I just thought, it being Christmas.
Oh, Christmas. Christmas?
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas, Bob!
Oh, Mr. Fred. Well, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you, Uncle. Merry Christmas, Uncle.
Bah, humbug.
Humbug? Christmas a humbug, Uncle? Now I'm sure you don't mean that.
I do. Merry Christmas. What right have you to be merry? What reason have you to be merry? You're poor enough.
Well, come then, Uncle. What right have you to be dismal? You're rich enough.
Ah, humbug.
Don't be cross, Uncle.
Well, what else can I be when I live in such a world of fools as this? What's Christmas to you but a time for paying bills without money? Merry Christmas, a time for finding yourself a year older and not an hour richer. If I could work my will, every idiot who'd go about with Merry Christmas on his lips should be boiled in his own pudding and buried with a stake of holly through his heart. He should.
Uncle.
Nephew, keep Christmas in your own way and let me keep it in mine.
Keep it? But you don't keep it.
Let me leave it alone, then. What do you want, nephew? A Christmas gift, I have no doubt.
I came to wish you a Merry Christmas, Uncle.
A Merry Christmas? Much good may Christmas do you. Much good has it ever done you.
There are many things from which I have derived good, by which I have not profited, I dare say, Uncle. Christmas among the rest. But I have always thought of Christmas time as a good time, a kind, forgiving, charitable, pleasant time. And therefore, Uncle, though it has never put a scrap of gold or silver in my pocket, I believe it has done me good and will do me good. And I say God bless it.
God bless Christmas. Hurrah!
Let me hear another sound out of you out there, Bob Cratchit, and you'll keep your Christmas by losing your situation. Now, as to you, nephew, I wonder you don't go into Parliament. You talk enough nonsense.
Oh, don't be angry, Uncle. I want nothing from you. I ask nothing of you. Why can't we be friends?
Good afternoon.
I'm sorry you feel that way. Well, I've tried. A Merry Christmas to you, Uncle.
I said good afternoon.
And a Happy New Year, too.
Humbug. I say bah humbug.
Merry Christmas to you, Bob, and the missus, and to Tiny Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Fred. Same to you, sir. Good day, sir.
Good day, Bob. Merry Christmas, Uncle Ebenezer.
Oh, twaddle. Nonsense. Flummery. Talking of Christmas, and not a sixpence to jingle against another in his trouser pockets. You there, Bob Cratchit, you there.
Yes, sir.
What are you doing in there?
Oh, I was only putting a bit of more coal on the fire, Mr. Scrooge, seeing it's so cold in here, sir.
You put that coal back in the scuttle.
Yes, sir.
A fire indeed. I can tell you, if you use coal at that rate, you and I'll soon be parting company, Bob Cratchit. Do you understand me? Many a young fellow'd like your situation, you know.
I'm sorry, sir. My fingers were getting a little stiff with the cold.
Then put on your mittens.
Merry Christmas! Merry Christmas!
Oh, there's someone at the door. See who it is.
Yes, sir.
Merry Christmas, sir.
Oh, Merry yes, sir?
This is the firm of Scrooge and Marley.
Yes, sir.
I should like to see the head of the firm, if I may.
Oh, very good, sir. Step this way, please.
What is it?
A gentleman to see you, Mr. Scrooge.
Eh?
Have I the pleasure of addressing Mr. Scrooge or Mr. Marley?
Marley's been dead these 7 years. Tonight.
Oh.
And I'm Scrooge, though I doubt that'll be any pleasure to you, sir.
I'm sure it will. Now, Mr. Scrooge, at this season of the year, it's only fitting that we who are more fortunate should raise a fund to buy the poor some meat and drink and means of warmth. You may not believe it, sir, but many thousands are now in want of common necessities, and hundreds of thousands are in want of comforts, sir.
Are there no prisons?
Well, there are plenty of prisons, sir.
And the workhouses. They're still in operation, I trust.
I wish I could say they are not, but they are, sir.
The treadmill and the poor law are in full vigor, then?
both very busy, sir.
Oh, well, I'm very glad to hear that. I was afraid from what you said at first that something had occurred to stop them in their useful course. Now, sir, what do you want with me?
Well, Mr. Scrooge, a few of us are endeavoring to raise a fund for the poor and destitute. What shall I put you down for?
Nothing.
Oh, you wish to be anonymous, sir.
I wish to be let alone. I don't make merry at Christmas time, and I can't afford to help make idle people merry. I help to support the establishments that take care of the poor. They cost enough. Let those who are badly off go there.
Well, many can't go there, sir, and many would rather die.
Then let them do so and decrease the surplus population. Besides, how do I know that's true?
You might know it someday, Mr. Scrooge.
It's not my business. It's enough for a man to understand his own business and not to interfere with other people's. Mine occupies me constantly. Good afternoon, sir. Cratchit, show this gentleman out. Cratchit!
Oh, yes, sir. This way, sir, please. Excuse me, sir. I couldn't help overhearing. I should like to contribute 3 pence. It's all I can afford. But if there are others in worse situations than I, then I...
You're a generous fellow. I wish I might say the same of your employer.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good day. Merry Christmas.
Good afternoon, sir. And a Merry Christmas. $15, $24, $31, 1, and carry 3. $17, $22, $33, 3, and carry 3. 4, 7, 8, and
Cratchit!
12, 15.
Cratchit!
Yes, sir.
Cratchit, it's too late to have you go to Farthingale's. He'll be closed up for Christmas like these other fools. We may as well close up this place now.
Yes, sir. 'Tis getting a little dark. Hard to see the figures.
I suppose you'll want the entire day tomorrow, Cratchit.
If quite convenient, sir.
It's not convenient. It's not fair. If I was to stop half a crown of your wages for it, you think yourself ill-used. I'll be bound.
Well, sir.
And yet you don't think me ill-used when I pay a day's wages for no work.
But it's only once a year, sir.
Yes, once a year. Once a year indeed. A fine excuse for picking a man's pocket every 25th of December. I suppose you must have the whole day. Well, see that you're here all the earlier the next morning. Do you understand me?
Oh, I will, sir. I will. Well, good night, sir. Good night, and... good night. Merry Christmas, Mr. Scrooge. The office was closed in a twinkling, and Bob Cratchit, with the long ends of his white comforter dangling below his waist, for he boasted no great coat, went down a slide on Cornhill 20 times in honor of its being Christmas Eve, and then ran home to Camden Town as hard as he could pelt to play with his family at Blind Man's Buff. Scrooge, on the other hand, took his melancholy dinner in his usual melancholy tavern, and having read all the newspapers and spent the rest of the evening with his banker's book, went home to his dismal house. The yard was so dark that even Scrooge, who knew its every stone, had to grope with his hands. Darkness is cheap, and Scrooge liked it. Once inside, he walked through his rooms to see that all was right. He then closed his bedroom door and locked himself in. Double-locked himself in. Then took off his cravat, put on his dressing gown and slippers and his nightcap, and sat down before the fire to take his gruel. It was a very low fire indeed, nothing on such a bitter night, not even enough to kindle a glow of light in the cheerless room. Scrooge stretched his numb fingers over the wretched fire. Then he saw something that made him draw them back. Slowly, the meager embers dissolved before his astonished eyes, dissolved into a ghostly face, one that Scrooge recognized as the face of Marley, his partner, dead these 7 years. It was not angry or ferocious, but looked at Scrooge as Marley used to look, with ghostly spectacles turned up on its ghostly forehead.
Humbug! Humbug! Humbug!
Scrooge got up and walked away from the fire. As he turned, his glance happened to rest upon a bell, a disused bell that hung in a corner of the room. It was with great astonishment and with a strange, inexplicable dread that, as he looked, he saw this bell begin to swing, slowly at first. He then saw the same face he had seen in the fire, Marley's face. And Marley's body came straight at him through the door, with a body so transparent that Scrooge, looking through his waistcoat, could see Marley's watch in his waistcoat pocket. The thick chain he wore was clasped about his middle. It was long and wound about him like a tail, and it was made of cash boxes, keys, padlocks, and heavy purses wrought in steel. Even now, Scrooge would not believe his eyes.
Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Marley, what do you want with me?
Much.
Who are you?
Ask me who I was.
Who were you then? You're particular for a ghost.
In life, I was your partner, Jacob Marley.
Jacob Marley? But you're dead. You died 7 years ago this very night.
You did not believe in me then?
I do not.
Why do you doubt your senses?
Well, because little things affect them. A slight disorder of the stomach makes them cheats. You may be an undigested bit of beef, a blot of mustard, a crumb of cheese, a fragment of an underdone potato. There may be more gravy than grave about you, whatever you are. Humbug, I tell you, humbug.
At this, the spirit took the bandage off from round its head, as if it were too warm to wear indoors, and its lower jaw dropped upon its breast.
Oh!
Man of the worldly mind, do you believe in me now?
I do, Jacob. I do. But why do you walk the earth? Why do you come to me, Jacob?
It is required of every man that the spirit within him should walk among his fellow men and travel far and wide to witness what it cannot share, but might have shared on earth and turn to happiness.
Tell me, Jacob, what is that chain you wear about you?
I wear the chain I forged in life. Cash boxes, keys, padlocks, ledgers, purses. I made it link by my own free will. Is its pattern strange to you, Ebenezer? Yours was as heavy and as long as this 7 years ago, and you've labored on it since, Ebenezer Scrooge.
Jacob! Oh, Jacob Marley, tell me more. Speak comfort to me, Jacob.
I have none to give, Ebenezer. No rest, no peace, incessant torture of remorse.
But you were always a good man of business, Jacob.
Business. Mankind was my business. Charity, mercy, benevolence. They were all my business.
Jacob!
Hear me, Ebenezer Scrooge. My time is nearly gone.
I will, Jacob. But don't be hard on me. Speak to me, Jacob, but please don't be flowery.
I am here tonight to warn you that you have yet a chance and hope of escaping my fate.
Oh, you were always a good friend to me, Jacob. Thank ye. Go on, Jacob.
Listen to me, Ebenezer. You will be haunted by 3 spirits.
I think I'd rather not.
Without their visits, you cannot hope to shun the path I tread. Expect the first tomorrow when the bell tolls 1. Expect the second on the next night at the same hour. The third upon the next night. Look to see me no more. And look that for your own sake, you remember what has passed between us.
Marley! Jacob Marley!
Scrooge awoke. Then suddenly the curtains of his bed were drawn aside, and Scrooge found himself face to face with an unearthly visitor. It was a strange figure, like a child, yet more like an angel. Its long hair was white as if with age, and yet the face had not a wrinkle in it, and the tenderest bloom was on the skin. The arms and hands were long, its dress of the purest white, trimmed with summer flowers. But the strangest thing about it was that from the crown of its head sprang a clear jet of light, by which all this was visible, and which was doubtless a great extinguisher for a cap, which it now held under its arm.
Ebenezer Scrooge. Ebenezer Scrooge.
Are you the spirit whose coming was foretold me?
I am.
Who and what are you?
I am the ghost of Christmas past.
Long past?
No, your past.
What business brings you here? What is it you want of me?
Your welfare, Ebenezer Scrooge. Rise and walk with me.
No, not the window. I'm mortal and I'll fall down.
Bear but a touch of my hand there upon your heart, and you shall be upheld in more than this. Come, follow me. Let us go.
They now stood upon an open country road, with fields on either side. The darkness and the mist had vanished, and it was now a clear, cold winter day, with snow upon the ground. They walked along the road, and Scrooge began to recognize every gate and tree, until a little market town appeared in the distance, with its bridge, church, and winding river. Some shaggy ponies trotted toward them, with boys upon their backs or in sleighs. The boys were in great spirits, shouted to each other through the broad fields until they were so full of music that the crisp air laughed to hear it. And there stood old Scrooge, in his dressing gown and slippers and nightcap, and beside him, the spirit of Christmas past.
Not all the boys and girls were singing on that Christmas day, were they, Ebenezer Scrooge? See the bleak building over there?
That building? Why, I was a boy there. I went to school in that place.
Do you recollect the way?
Why, I could walk it blindfold.
Strange you have forgotten it for so many years. Come, let us go closer. Look through the window into this cold, barren room. What do you see, Ebenezer Scrooge?
I see a boy.
A solitary child, neglected by his friends, sitting alone, a book before him.
Yes, I see. I know that boy. I was lonely. Oh, poor boy.
Your lip is trembling, Scrooge. And what's that on your cheek?
It's nothing. I wish. Oh, but it's too late now.
What is the matter?
Nothing. There was a boy singing a Christmas carol at my door last night. I should have liked to have given him something. That's all.
That is all? Come, Ebenezer Scrooge. Let us see another Christmas. You know this place, Ebenezer?
Oh, know it. Why, this is the counting house where I was apprenticed.
Listen.
Oh, hello. Now, everyone choose your partners.
And it's my old master, oh, bless his heart, my old master alive again. and then his clerks, so full of joy on Christmas Eve.
Advance and retire. Hold hands with your partner. Bow and curtsy. That's right. Corkscrew now. Thread the needle and back to your places.
Look, Scrooge, look at that carefree young man with the light heart and the gay smile. Do you recognize him, Ebenezer?
Yes, I do.
What is the matter, Ebenezer?
Nothing particular.
Something, I think.
No. Only I should like to be able to say a word or two to my clerk, Bob Cratchit. That's all it is.
Hold hands with your partner. Advance and retire. Bow and curtsy. Thread the needle.
My time grows short, and we have yet another journey to make.
Where now?
Come.
Again, Scrooge saw himself in a room that was vaguely familiar. He was older, a man in the prime of his life. He was not alone, and sat with a fair young girl. There were tears in her eyes.
It matters little, Ebenezer, to you. Very little, I know. Another idol has displaced me, and if it can cheer and comfort you in time to come, as I would have tried to do, I have no just cause to grieve.
What idol has displaced you?
A golden one.
Belle, listen to me. There's nothing the world's so hard on as poverty, and yet nothing it pretends to condemn so much as the pursuit of wealth.
The world again. You fear the world too much, Ebenezer.
Belle, have I changed toward you?
When we were engaged, we were both poor.
Was it better then? Belle, was it better to be poor?
Better at least to be happy. You've changed. You were another man then.
I was a boy. Do you blame me because I've grown wiser? Have I ever tried to break our engagement?
In words? No, never.
In what then?
In a changed nature. In an altered spirit. In everything that made my love of any value in your sight. So, I release you from your promise.
Belle, I love you still.
Though at first it may cause you pain to lose me. A very brief pain, but soon it will be dim like a half-remembered dream. An unprofitable dream, and you'll be glad to be awake from such a dream. May you be happy in the life you have chosen, Ebenezer, for the love of him you once were.
Spirit, it is enough. Show me no more.
These were shadows of the things that have been, that they are what they are. Do not blame me.
No more, no more.
One shadow more. Come.
The relentless ghost pinioned him in both his arms and forced him to observe what happened next. They were in a room, not very large or handsome, but full of comfort. All around them were the voices of children talking and laughing, and before the winter fire sat a beautiful young girl, so like the last that Scrooge believed it was the same, until he saw her, the girl he had been betrothed to, now a handsome, middle-aged woman, sitting with her husband at their own fireside.
Do you see this man, Ebenezer Scrooge? This man might have been you. And that girl might have been your daughter, Ebenezer Scrooge. She might have called you father. She might have been a springtime in the haggard winter of your life.
Spirit, let me go. Show me no more.
Listen now while they speak, Ebenezer.
Well, I saw an old friend of yours today.
Who was it?
Yes.
Oh, how can I? Oh, I know. Mr. Scrooge.
Mr. Scrooge it was. I passed his office window. It wasn't shuttered and there was a candle inside, so I couldn't help seeing him. His partner lies at the point of death, I hear. And there Scrooge sat, all alone. Quite alone in the world, I do believe.
Spirit, remove me. Haunt me no more. Leave me. Take me back. Take me back.
In his anguish, Scrooge began to struggle with the ghost of Christmas past. The lights in the crown of its head burned high and bright. Scrooge, in a last desperate effort, tore the extinguisher cap from its hand and by a sudden action pressed it down upon its head. Scrooge was now conscious of being exhausted and of being in his own bedroom. He gave the cap a parting squeeze and had barely time to reel to bed before he sank into a deep sleep. The stroke of one awakened him and sat him bolt upright in his bed.
We pause now for station identification. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System. You are listening to the annual presentation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, brought to you by the makers of Campbell's Soups. We return you now to the Campbell Playhouse and the VO Academy players.
Awoken suddenly, Scrooge remembered the words of Marley's ghost and wondered from which direction the second spectre would appear. He drew aside the curtains and established a sharp lookout all around the bed. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. A quarter of an hour went by. Yet nothing came. And all this time, he sat upon the bed with his nightcap upon his head. He became aware of a blaze of ruddy light streaming onto him. Being only light, this was more alarming than a dozen ghosts. He discovered the light was coming from his sitting room, which had undergone a surprising transformation. The walls and ceiling were so hung with lively green that it looked like a perfect grove. And such a mighty blaze went roaring up the chimney as had never been known in Scrooge's time. Heaped upon the floor to form a kind of throne were turkeys, geese, game, poultry, great joints of meat, sucking pigs, long wreaths of sausages, mince pies, plum puddings, barrels of oysters, red hot chestnuts, and seething bowls of punch that made the chamber dim with their delicious steam. And upon this couch there sat a jolly giant, glorious to see, who bore a glowing torch and held it up, high up, to shed its light on Scrooge as he came peeping round the corner.
Come in, Ebenezer Scrooge, and know me better, man.
You are...
I am the ghost of Christmas present. Look upon me. You've never seen the like of me before.
Spirit, conduct me where you will. I went forth last time on compulsion and learnt a lesson, which is working now. If tonight you have anything to teach me, let me profit by it.
Touch my robe, Ebenezer Scrooge. Touch my robe.
The room vanished along with the hour of night. Sunlight brushed them as the pair streamed through the clear morning air. The second spectre flew at a more leisurely speed, and Scrooge had time to observe people below him shoveling snow on the city roofs, calling out to one another from the parapets, and now and then pelting each other with snowballs. Scrooge and his ghostly guide circled the tall spires as the steeples called good people all to church or chapel. And there below them lay Camden Town, with its squalid streets of ugly frame houses. Of all these dwellings, the ghosts selected the humblest for their visit. Scrooge recognized Bob Cratchit's wife, dressed in a twice-turned gown, but brave in ribbons, busily laying the table. Assisting her was Belinda Cratchit, second of her daughters, while Master Peter Cratchit plunged a fork into the saucepan of potatoes. And now, two smaller Cratchits, boy and girl, came tearing in, screaming that outside the baker's they had smelled a goose and known it for their own, now basking in luxurious thoughts of sage and onions. And three more young Cratchits danced about the table. Then, once more, the door opened.
Martha! We've caught a goose! Oh, where do you see it, Martha?
Quiet, children, quiet. Why, bless your heart alive, Martha, my dear, how late you are. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Mother.
How late you are, Martha.
Oh, we had a deal of work to finish up last night, and we had to clear away this morning.
Well, never mind, so long as you're here now. Sit ye down before the fire and have a warm, Lord bless you.
But where's Father?
He's been to church with Tiny Tim.
Oh.
They'll be along directly.
How is Tiny Tim, Mother? Any better at all?
Sometimes I think he is. And sometimes I think, oh dear God, if anything should happen to Tiny Tim, if Tiny Tim should die.
Mother! You mustn't even think of such a thing.
Here they come! Father and Tiny Tim! This is exciting! I can't wait to eat it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Martha!
Merry Christmas, Father and Tim.
Merry Christmas, Martha.
And there was Bob Cratchit with Tiny Tim upon his shoulder. Poor Tiny Tim. He carried a little crutch and had his limbs supported by an iron frame.
And how did little Tim behave in church, Bob?
Oh, I like church, Mother. Oh, they sang the nicest hymns, and the people were so kind to me. And it was fun riding home on Daddy's shoulder.
He behaved as good as gold, and better. Somehow he gets thoughtful sitting by himself so much, and thinks the strangest things you ever heard. He told me that he hoped people saw him in church because he was lame, and it might be pleasant for them to remember, on Christmas Day, who made the lame beggars walk and blind men see,
Tim, you darling.
Mother, the goose is ready.
The goose, Mother!
Mother, I'm hungry. The goose.
Oh, yes, children, all ready. Come, take your places and wait your turn. There's plenty of stuffing and dressing and plum pudding for all of you.
It's gonna be good. Lovely.
Now, Martha, you take care of Tiny Tim. That's right, and see that he eats plenty. He must get strong and well.
Now, shall we say grace?
Yes, Bob.
Our Father, who art in heaven, we thank thee for the daily bread which, in thy mercy, thou dost give to us. Bless us this Christmas day. Keep us all together, so that for many years to come, we may unite here to do thy will and praise thy name. Amen.
Amen.
And now, my dears, with such a dinner, a toast. A Merry Christmas to us all, and God bless us.
God bless us.
God bless us, everyone.
And now to Mr. Scrooge. I'll give you a toast to Mr. Scrooge, the founder of the feast.
The founder of the feast indeed, who pays you all of 15 shillings a week? I wish I had him here. I'd give him a piece of my mind to feast on, and I hope he'd have a good appetite for it.
My dear, the children, Christmas Day.
Well, it should be Christmas Day, I'm sure, on which one drinks the health of such an odious, stingy, unfeeling man as Mr. Scrooge. You know he is, Bob. Nobody knows it better than you, poor fellow.
My dear, Christmas Day.
Well, I'll drink his health for your sake and the day's, not for his. Long life to him, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. He'll be very merry and very happy, I have no doubt.
And I say, God bless him too, Mother, and everyone.
There was nothing of high mark in all this, but they were happy, contented, and grateful for their time together. And when at last they faded, Scrooge had his eye upon them, and especially on Tiny Tim until the last.
Spirit, tell me if Tiny Tim will live?
I see a vacant seat in the poor chimney corner, and a crutch without an owner, carefully preserved.
No, kind spirit. Say he will be spared. Say he will live.
If these shadows remain unaltered by the future, the child will die.
Many calls Scrooge and the ghost of Christmas present made that night. They traveled to a bleak moor and found a cheerful company assembled around a glowing fire. An old man and woman with their children and their children's children, all decked out gaily in their holiday attire.
In this place, Ebenezer Scrooge, the miners live, who labored in the bowels of the earth. Still they know me. Do you hear?
The spirit did not tarry here, but bade Scrooge hold his robe, and they sped on, journeying over sea to a cold and solitary lighthouse, yet still filled with holiday cheer. Then onward still. Much Scrooge saw, and far they went. Many places they visited, but always with a happy end. The spirits stood beside sick beds, and they were cheerful. It was a long night, if it were only a night. Though Scrooge remained unaltered physically, the ghost grew older, clearly older.
My life upon this globe is very brief, Ebenezer. It ends tonight.
Tonight?
Tonight at midnight. Hark! The hour is come.
Not yet. There are still more things I wish to learn.
These you will learn from still another spirit. Still another spirit, Ebenezer.
Scrooge looked about him for the ghost, but it had vanished, and he found himself once more in his bed, in his dressing gown, and his nightcap on his head. Scrooge heard the clock strike, and, once more, remembered the prediction of Marley. Lifting up his eyes, he beheld a solemn phantom, draped and hooded, coming toward him like a mist along the ground, spreading gloom and misery.
I'm the ghost of Christmas yet to come, Ebenezer Scrooge. I'm about to show you the shadows of the things that have not happened, but will happen in the time before us.
Ghost of the future, I fear you more than any specter I've seen. Lead on, lead on. The night is waning fast, and it is precious time.
Scrooge followed, and suddenly they were in a room, which Scrooge remembered having seen before, where a woman and a child were.
Oh, my son, my little son, Tiny Tim. I loved him so.
Mother, dear, you mustn't. It's almost time for Father to be home. Don't let him see you crying.
Yes, Martha. He's late tonight. He walks slower than he used to. And yet, I've known him to walk very fast indeed, with Tiny Tim on his shoulder.
So have I, Mother.
But he was light to carry, and his father loved him so that it was no trouble at all. Bob.
Good evening, my dear.
You're late, Bob.
I'm sorry, my dear. I went to the churchyard today. I wish you could have gone with me. It would have done your heart good to see how sweet and green a place it is. But you'll see it often. I promised Tiny Tim we'd walk there on a Sunday.
Oh, Bob! Bob!
It's God's will, my dear.
Oh, my son, my little son! Tiny Tim, I loved him so!
Scrooge tried to break through the shade that held him, to talk with Bob Cratchit, to speak some word of comfort, but the sleeve of the ghost of Christmas yet to come passed in front of him and shut the family from his view. And now, Scrooge and the spirit were in an obscure part of the town where Scrooge had never been before. The whole quarter reeked with crime, filth, and misery. Deep in this den of infamous resort, there was a low-browed, beetling pawnshop where iron, old rags, and bottles were bought. And there was an old charwoman standing at the counter.
Undo me bunder, Joe. Go.
No, I hope old Scrooge didn't die of nothing catching, eh?
Oh, don't be afraid. I ain't so fond of his company that I'd take a chance on that. Aye, you may look through that shirt till your eyes ache, and it won't find a hole in it. It's the best he had. Ha! And to find one, too. One day'd have wasted it if it hadn't been for me.
What do you call a wasting of it, Mrs. Dilber?
What, putting him on it to be buried in. Somebody was a fool enough to do it, but I took it off him again. Ha! Well, if calico ain't good enough for such a purpose, it ain't good enough for anything. It can't look any uglier than he did in that one. Oh, the old aura, eh? And there's his bed curtains. Oh, small use he'll have for where he's going.
That's the truest words you ever spoken, Mrs. Dilber.
Oh, so this is the end of him, you see. Oh, he frightened everyone away from him when he was alive to profit us when he was dead.
The phantom spread its dark robe, and, withdrawing it, revealed another place, a graveyard overrun by grass and weeds. The spirit stood among the graves, and then pointed down to one. Scrooge crept toward it, trembling as he went, and read the name on the neglected grave. It was his own.
Spirit? Spirit, am I? Am I the man who lay dead upon that bed?
The spirit pointed from the grave to him and back again.
Oh, please, Spirit, please hear me. I am not the man I was. I will not be that man that I have been for so many years. Why show me all this if I am past all hope? Assure me that I yet may change these shadows you have shown me. Oh, tell me that I am not too late.
Scrooge, clutching at the spirit's cloak, saw an alteration in the phantom's hood and dress. It shrank, collapsed, and dwindled into a bedpost. And it was his own. The bed was his own. The room was his own. Best and happiest of all, the time before him was his own to make amends in. Running to the window, he opened it.
You there, boy! Oh, boy! What's today?
Hey? What's that, sir?
I say, what day is it, my fine fellow?
Today? Why, it's Christmas Day.
Christmas Day? Christmas Day! Oh, then I haven't missed it. The spirits have done it all in one night. All in one night! Oh, I don't know what to do. Why, I'm as light as a feather. I'm as happy as an angel. I'm as merry as a schoolboy. Oh, a Merry Christmas to everybody. A Happy New Year. A Happy New Year to all the world. Yay!
Next morning, Scrooge was early at his office, so he could be there first and catch Bob Cratchit coming late. That was the thing he'd set his heart upon, and he did it. Yes, he did. The clock struck 9. No Bob. 1:15. No Bob. Scrooge sat with his office door wide open that he might see him come in. At last, Bob arrived. His hat was off before he opened the door. His comforter, too. He was on his stool in a jiffy, driving away with his pen as if he were trying to overtake 9 o'clock. 8 and 7 are 15. Carry the 1. 24, carry the 2. 31 and 5 are 36.
Hello, you, Cratchit.
Yes, sir.
Cratchit, step this way, Cratchit, if you please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Cratchit, what do you mean by coming in at this time of day?
Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. I am behind my time.
You are? Yes, you are.
It's only once a year, Mr. Scrooge. It shall not be repeated. I was making rather merry yesterday, sir, and
I'll tell you what, my friend. I'm not going to stand this sort of thing any longer, and therefore... And therefore, Bob Cratchit, I'm about to raise your salary.
Are you quite yourself, sir?
No, thank heaven. I'm not quite myself. Merry Christmas, Bob. Merry Christmas, my good fellow. A merrier Christmas than I've given you for many a year. I'll raise your salary and we'll see what we can do for Tiny Tim and the rest of your family. We'll discuss it this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of smoking bishop, Bob. Make up the fires, make 'em up, and buy another coal scuttle before you dot another I, Bob Cratchit.
And Scrooge was better than his word. He did it all and infinitely more. And to Tiny Tim, who did not die, he was a second father. He became as good a friend, as good a master, and as good a man as the good old city knew, or any other good old city, town, or borough in the good old world. It was always said of him, that he knew how to keep Christmas well, if any man alive possessed the knowledge. May that be truly said of us, and all of us. And so, as Tiny Tim observed,
God bless us, everyone.
You have just heard the presentation of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, offered for your enjoyment by the makers of Campbell's Soups and the VO Academy players.
Ladies and gentlemen, Richard Durrington, your director here, wishing a very Merry Christmas from all of us to all of you.
The members of our cast, with their considerable aggregation of dramatic talent, are Richard Durrington as Scrooge, Trevor Kimball, who played Bob Cratchit, Mr. Fezziwig, Marley's ghost, and the narrator, Jeff Ritchie, who was the man who asked for alms, Nephew Fred, Robert, and your announcer, Brad Storm, who was the ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, Ralph Duke, who was the ghost of Christmas Present, Lou Polsom, who was the ghost of Christmas Past, Monique Tanguay, who was the charwoman, Corey Rhymes, who was Joe, and Lucente, who was Mrs. Cratchit, Rachel Vega, who was Martha, Mel Rose, who was Belle, and Tiny Tim, and the crew of sound technicians Brad and Ken all wish you a Merry Christmas. And finally, as Tiny Tim says,
God bless us, everyone.
this is Jeff Ritchie wishing you all a very Merry Christmas on behalf of the makers of Campbell's Soups. This is the Columbia Broadcasting System.
All right, man, what a great play that was. Richard, we appreciate you bringing that to us and really kind of put you in the Christmas spirit, especially how Scrooge kind of changed his mind there at the end. My favorite part of that whole thing.
It was so fun to play Scrooge again. Because I did it on stage and had to memorize all the lines 10 years ago. I was a lot younger, old man then. I'm an older old man now.
I can barely memorize the lunch menu now. So,
but it's funny, the lines almost the same as the stage, and as soon as I started reading them and saying them, the character popped out of an old file drawer that squeaked open, and he was just there again. And
That's
it's
awesome.
Just odd how my brain works sometimes. It's like, yay, my turn to talk, my turn to talk.
That's how their professional actors do. That's brilliant.
I really appreciate everybody who took the time to listen to it. Again, if you want to share it, just knock yourselves out. It turned out well, and we're happy to have it shared.
Absolutely, and it's on your YouTube page too, and it's YouTube.
It will be.
It's not there yet.
Okay. I've got to get I don't want to use the version. It's on a YouTube page, but it's on the VO Academy page, so I haven't put it and got it off of the drive from the VO Academy to put on my YouTube yet, which I'm working on.
Okay, yeah, he's doing computer rebuilds over here too, so he's a man.
I'm almost done with it. It's driving me nuts.
He's a man of many hats. He knows what he's doing. So anyway, we hope you were somewhat not informed this week, but had fun like we did.
Entertained.
Yes, and got the Christmas spirit in you. Don't forget you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, not Google. I almost said Google. Smart speakers or wherever you find your podcasts.
And, of course, you'll find us every Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on the OracleTalkRadioNetwork.com. You can get the apps for both Apple and Android. It'll go for either phone. If you just go to the .com and don't want to get the apps, you just scroll down. There's the player, and ta-da! You can listen to us Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern Time for your drive home, or if you just want to go away and listen to A Christmas Carol again, you can do that as well.
There you go. And don't forget, tomorrow is Christmas, so put your phone down, hug too much, eat too much, leave the politics for next year.
That's right. Fill that hug meter up if you got grandkids if they don't live next to you. That's what I used to call it. Got to fill the hug meter. So, you all have a wonderful, wonderful Christmas, and we'll have a little something for you on New Year's Eve as well.
That's right. So we'll see you next week, folks.
Toodles, thanks again for listening. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Well, mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just Stay off my lawn. See you next time.